Last month, Christian Menefee resigned as Harris County attorney to announce that he would be running for the congressional seat left vacant after the passing of former Mayor Sylvester Turner. Governor Greg Abbott announced an official special election set to take place this November for that 18th congressional district seat. We invited Christian Menefee to join us on the show, and he's here with us now. Mr. Menefee, good morning and welcome to Hello Houston.
Good morning.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Live in person with us in the studio.
I'm super excited. You got a beautiful studio. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And people can ask questions of you if they give us a call, 713-440-8870.
And they can see the studio on YouTube.
And they can see Kristen right here, too.
Oh, wait, y'all didn't tell me. Hold on.
That's a camera.
There it is.
That's a camera right there. It
Awesome.
sure is.
I guess the first big question on everyone's mind is how you feel about the governor picking when the election is happening and what that means for the folks in that district to go that long without their elected voice being heard on the floor of the U.S. House.
I think what Governor Abbott has done in calling the election for November 4th is unconscionable and represents the worst in politics. Time and time again, since he's been governor, we've had vacancies arise in congressional seats across the state. And in each instance, he acted extremely quickly. With a strong sense of urgency to call those elections. And in two instances, he called them in June of that same year. One time he said it's because hurricane season was approaching, and that represented a direct emergency to the people of that district, and they needed federal action to weather the storm. Here we are in the 18th Congressional District, one of the most flood-prone areas of the entire state. We've been hit with hurricane after hurricane, storm after storm, flood after flood. People have lost their stability, their property, and sometimes even their life. Yet despite that, Governor Abbott is still doing what Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson want to happen and delaying the election. I think it's a travesty, and I hate that he's doing it.
We hear a lot about the congressional office still being open and handling a lot of requests from folks of what they need and having like documentation, all that move forward. The office is still working. But what does it mean not to have a representative standing on the House floor and being able to speak for the people of that area?
And this budget vote just today. I mean, was what, one vote away?
That's right. So there are staff members in the office right now who are handling the constituent services side of it. That's important work, and I'm so grateful that those fantastic folks are still in the office. But being a congressperson is more than just constituent services. Now, I'll give you a direct example. The late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, I can't tell you the number of times that she would call me at 10 p.m. and say, I need you to get on the phone with the FEMA regional administrator because there's a community that needs to open up some warming center or get some resources directly to them. That's a call that only a member of Congress can make. There are important votes going on, budget issues, as you just mentioned. There's a national debate about how we're going to approach Social Security, Medicaid, all of these issues, and you need a member of Congress on the floor. And Greg Abbott knows this. That's the thing is, Texans are not stupid. Our governor knows this. The people who live in this district know this. This is a political game, full stop. We all know it, and it really is unconscionable.
So why did you decide to announce that you're going to go ahead and run? Why are you running for this seat?
Because I believe in this district, and I was raised in this district, grew up in public schools right here in the district, and my story is the same as so many other Americans, where if you have a strong government, a smart government, it can give folks a more fair shot at the American dream. I came up under military parents, but we were on a single family income because my brother was battling cancer. Time after time, a strong, smart government was there to make sure that I had a fair shot. I grew up on public assistance. My brother beat cancer because of my parents' military insurance. I was the first in my family to go to college, and I went on a Pell Grant. Then I went to law school on my father's post-9/11 GI Bill. You only get there from a generation before where my grandparents were battling addiction and where I had more family members who went to prison than who went to college. You only get from there in a single generation to having a family member elected as the youngest person and the first Black Harris County attorney because you had a strong government, a smart government, and thoughtful people in government. Right now in D.C., what we see is Donald Trump is doing the exact opposite.
So then how will you work with this government, this administration that's currently there now?
Two things. One, I think it's the job of the Democratic Party right now to be the opposition party. When Donald Trump comes in and says that he wants to fire hundreds of thousands of federal workers, that he wants to cut NIH funding, and we're right here in the city with the largest medical hub in the entire country, it's the job of the members in Congress to stand up and push back in any way that they can. But also, I'm willing to open with anyone to deliver for the 18th Congressional District. In my job as county attorney, I have to represent people. It doesn't matter if they're Democratic, Republican, Independent. I represent elected officials officials and I get stuff done, and I would have that same effectiveness in Congress.
Well, and to that end, you're suing the Trump administration after it froze more than $10 million grants for Harris County's Refugee Health Services Program. So first, why would the Trump administration do that?
That's a question that I ask every Monday.
Right.
You know, the answer is I have no clue. This refugee program is not new. This is something that counties across the country have been doing since the end of World War II. And these folks are in the country legally. They have fled war-torn countries like the Ukraine, Afghanistan, and all this program does is provide them health screening services because you don't want diseases festering in certain communities that can impact all of our health. We've seen that with measles. The Trump administration inexplicably cut off that funding. So we filed this lawsuit. We're not the first folks to sue them over this, and they know they're wrong. We'll see what a court of law says, but this money needs to flow back to the county so that we can continue providing these important services.
So a quick question for you. What actually is your official title right now?
It's still county attorney.
Still
so
kind
the
of
way
acting?
the law works, the law is very convoluted. I've been asked about this at least 100 times. When I announced for Congress, I resigned. But under Texas law, I am required to continue staying in the role until I am replaced by the county commissioner's court. So I am still the county attorney right now. I still get to get up and go to work every day. It's a beautiful thing. But what's important is that this is a job. I mean, this office has more than 300 attorneys and staff who represent the county in all of its glory of 18,000 employees. And so it's a lot of work, and I deeply enjoy the job, and I remain the county attorney until I'm replaced.
I ask you this question simply because I want to say with us is County Attorney Christian Menefee, and we're taking your questions right now. It's 713-440-8870.
So, Chris, it's pretty clear that health matters to you,
Yeah.
Given your brother's diagnosis at one time. I read your website, and you kind of hit everything. Tell folks sort of what are your passions. Like if you could pick what committees to be on if you win this race, where do you want to go and really make a difference?
So I would start with DHS, Homeland Security. This is a district that has been gravely impacted by natural disasters. I think back to Hurricane Harvey, to the many, many storms where we've seen people in the community who are having to carry their belongings across bodies of water, first responders diving into the water, putting themselves at risk to save lives. This is a set of communities that will continue to be impacted by natural disasters, and I think it's imperative that this district has a voice in Washington on those issues. So I'm going to be very interested in that.
And that, to your point, is very tied to climate change.
Yeah.
So what's your position on that?
Oh, I believe climate change is a preeminent threat to the future of our civilization, and we should be doing every single thing we can to address those issues. Since I've been in office, I've filed a number of lawsuits on environmental justice issues because we all know that climate change is going to most impact these underserved communities, including many that are in the 18th Congressional District. My approach is very much we need to transition to clean energy. It needs to be a thoughtful transition. We have thousands and thousands of families here in the Houston area who rely on the hydrocarbon industry, and it is what got them to making six figures for the first time in their life. So I think we need a thoughtful transition, but we need to be intentional about it.
You relatively quickly decided to get into this race. And so I'm curious, had it not been for the passing of Celeste Turner, what were you thinking for your plan for your public service? What was your goal?
So that's the beautiful thing is I never came into public service with an end goal in mind. I was working in the private sector, like as I mentioned, first in my family to go to college, and just for the first time in my life had resources, had never had them. And was very pleased, got married and was enjoying life. And then Donald Trump won the Republican primary in 2016. And after watching my parents serve in the military, aunts and uncles serve in the military, I knew that if you want the democracy that's going to stay protected, you got to do something about it. And so I started to get more involved civically. I left the private sector and ran for office because I wanted to make a change. And I enjoyed my first term as county attorney. It was a fantastic time. And I ran for re-election because I had intended to continue being the county attorney. But there was something to be said about the service of the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and of the late Celeste Turner. These are people who cared about this district so much that they finished their life in service. It just reminded me of the responsibility of a public servant. And it's not to get accolades. It's not to get new titles. It's not to go to galas and luncheons. It's to truly serve and to even sacrifice to do so.
So you may have heard about the student visas being revoked. 15 of them at the College Station campus of A&M and in Galveston. 300 across the state, I think. What, if anything, can we do about this kind of activity?
I think we really have to shift the discussion on immigration. What you're seeing right now is a party in the Republican Party that has historically just targeted undocumented immigrants, right? That's been the target of their vitriol and their ire. What you've seen since J.D. Vance has kind of emerged to the forefront of the Republican Party is a new conversation. And it's not just that we have a problem with those who are undocumented, it's that there are people who are here legally who we don't believe should be here legally because they don't represent their view of the fabric of the country.
We don't want foreigners in our country.
That's right. And if you're here legally, we're going to make that illegal. So, look, I think the Democratic Party has in front of it a real charge to ratchet things up, to get more aggressive in the courtroom, to get more aggressive in their policy positions. One thing that you see very often from the Republican Party is when they're in control, they take control. You've seen this from Mitch McConnell for decades, right? He has no problem changing positions that he had a couple decades before if it means advancing his party's interests. I think the base is calling on Democrats to be more aggressive in their approach and to stand up and fight back and not allow Trump to turn us into an autocracy.
Yeah. For a point of clarity now, just to go back to where we'd started the conversation too, this new special election set for November 4th. Done, not moving, can't get it earlier. Are we set on that?
House Democrats have talked about the potential for litigation. I continue to explore every single legal option. The problem is the law gives a bunch of deference to the governor on this. I think these laws were drafted at a time when politics was different, where we could sit across from each other at a dinner table and disagree on things and still have a beer afterward. But now we're in the age of Donald Trump and of the new recreated Greg Abbott. And so, unfortunately, I think the law gives them a lot of deference. I do hope that folks will continue to explore legal options because I think it's wrong, and I think this election should be set for June.
One of the things that the governor did say, though, is that Harris County wasn't really prepared to be able to handle this election this soon. Your thoughts?
Categorical nonsense.
Phony baloney.
Absolutely nonsense. So, Harris County in the past, years ago, has had challenges in its elections. No different than any other county across this state, right? You run elections, a lot of people are dealing with a lot of processes. A place this big, you're going to have challenges. Since County Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth has become the head of elections here in Harris County, there has been not a single complaint that I've seen from a reasonable Republican. In fact, many have praised her in her work. I think what happened here is the governor got asked a question on camera, and his team had prepared a nonsense excuse for him because they knew he would look silly if he had nothing to say.
Yeah, we can bash him on this all the whole time, but I want to know your position as someone who got their Medicare number last week.
Yeah.
There are some of these social programs that are being threatened by the Department of Government Efficiency. You know what they are. What are you going to do to stop this?
Yeah, you got to use every single tool. That includes litigation, and we've seen cases filed throughout the country on many of the actions that Donald Trump has taken. These social programs are a large part of the reason why I'm here today. I left this out, but my brother beat cancer, and he did so with TRICARE insurance, which is government issued insurance for folks who are in the military and their dependents. I'm a firm believer in strengthening Medicare and Medicaid, but right here in the state of Texas, we have a governor and a lieutenant governor and a legislator that refuse to expand Medicaid. And at the same time, we have Republicans doing everything they can to give tax cuts to the wealthy, and it's on the backs of programs like that. So I would be a strong advocate for strengthening the social safety net. That includes programs like Medicare. And I'm a proponent of, single-payer insurance. Like I believe that healthcare is a right. Every single person in this country, if they fall into an instance where they are diagnosed with cancer, should have access to treatment that can save their life. Every single person.
If people want to know more about you, what is your website?
ChristianMenefee.com. We kept it simple.
Right. Simple's better, always. Always. Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Thank you so much.